Welcome back, mathematicians. In this video, we are going to do another example where we have to evaluate an expression using the half-angle formula. So if secant of theta is equal to 3 and sine of theta is less than 0, we need to find the exact value of sine of theta over 2. The first thing we'll do is write the formula for sine of theta over 2. Sine of theta over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of angle theta all over 2. To successfully evaluate this expression and simplify, we need to do two things. Number one, we need to find cosine of theta, and number two, we need to determine whether this expression should be positive or negative, because it shouldn't be both. So let's start with cosine of theta. Here's what we know. We know that secant of theta is equal to 3. We also know, based on the reciprocal identity, that secant of theta is really equal to 1 over cosine of theta, and so 1 over cosine of theta is equal to 3. We can then take the reciprocal of both sides, and what we get is cosine of theta is equal to 1/3. So we've now successfully found the exact value of cosine of theta. The second objective is to figure out whether this is a positive or a negative expression. To do that, we're going to have to use secant of theta is equal to positive 3, and also sine of theta is less than 0. I'm going to draw a picture, and what I know, again, is that secant of theta is equal to positive 3, meaning that cosine is also positive, so we're looking at quadrants 1 and 4. But we also know that sine of theta is less than 0. So if sine of theta is less than 0 or negative, that means that my terminal side should be either in quadrant number 3 or quadrant number 4. Since the overlap occurs in quadrant number 4, we know the terminal side for angle theta should be in quadrant number 4. This means theta is going to be greater than 3 pi over 2, but less than 2 pi. We now need to use this compound inequality to determine where the terminal side of theta over 2 lies. So we're going to divide all parts of this compound inequality by 2, so that way we can compare and determine where the terminal side of theta over 2 lies. We see that 3 pi over 2 divided by 2 is going to be 3 pi over 4, and 2 pi divided by 2 is pi. This means that theta over 2 is going to be greater than 3 pi over 4, but less than pi. This means that it's going to be somewhere in this general region. So because theta over 2 is in this area here, somewhere in this area that I've shaded in red, we know that sine of theta over 2 will equal a positive expression because of the fact that sine is positive in quadrant number 2. We are now prepared to put everything into the formula, so we know sine of theta over 2 is equal to positive square root of 1 minus cosine of theta, which is 1/3, all over 2. Our goal now is to simplify that expression under the radical. Going forward, I'm not going to write the plus, so we'll have the square root of 1 minus 1/3, which is 2/3, divided by 2. And 2/3 divided by 2 is equal to 1/3. I'm now going to break up the radical into the numerator and denominator, so what I get is the square root of 1 over the square root of 3, which is equal to 1 over the square root of 3. And then I need to rationalize the denominator to get square root of 3 over 3, and that is my final answer. So given that secant of theta is equal to 3 and we know sine of theta is less than 0, we have determined that sine of theta over 2 is equal to square root of 3 over 3. All right, guys, good luck.